Hello everybody. In this video, we're going to look over at a portion of the Epictesian period. That is, the time before the huge explosion in biodiversity, also known as adaptive radiation, happened during this period. The overall and full period will be looked over during the next 3 or 4 episodes of this series, in which we'll be examining where, when, and what animals appeared. But before I begin, I would like to advise you, that if you like the content I generally produce, you might want to like and subscribe. With that out of the way, let's begin. So first of all, the start of the Epictesian period would be marked by a group of Pitskos migrating towards the deeper parts of the oceans, possibly because some of them would be smaller and would have been outcompeted by other various predators. With that happening, the descendants of one of the only animals living there, the Unius, would have to adapt in order to not be eaten all by the Pitskos. One adaptation that might be acquired, would be to produce a greater number of offspring, with only a handful of them being likely to survive to adulthood. Such an adaptation is also known as R-selection, where the definition is whatever I stated just a few moments ago. Some groups of fish might decide to move either in shallower waters or the deeper parts of the oceans, which would in turn spread the Palatrui species into further lands. However, due to both of these species forming a special relationship with each other called mutualistic symbiosis, where the two species that have arranged relationship to one another is beneficial to both of them, no Unioi groups are likely to simply spread out into the ocean. Their relationship with the Palatrui is, that as the Unioi go into its holes during the night to sleep, the spores of the organism get onto its skin, which means, that during the day, when the Unioi goes out and swims into the oceans, the Palatrui's spores get spread afar. With the arrival of the Pitsko invaders, some Uniois would likely spend every single night in a given Palatrui, rather than move around, as to decrease the chance to be noticed by the predators. In turn, the coral, which is what we'll call the Palatrui for the sake of simplicity, would likely be encouraged to grow even more, as to host even more spots for even more fish. Going within this direction, the Prophiscus, as we're going to name it, would likely grow bigger and bigger, and gradually evolve more and more into a K-selection arrangement, which means that they would produce a lesser quantity of offspring. However, its advantages are, that it in itself has a larger chance of survival, due to its parent or parents caring for it in its young age. However, the descendants of Unioi that have opted for R-selection will likely develop a new crucial adaptation, pigment-changing skin cells. Due to them not caring for their young and generally leading a more individualistic life, the Ignaviscus, as we're going to name it, would have a brown skin color of their face while sleeping in order for predators to be unlikely to notice it while sleeping. However, they would be able to change their face color during the day, as to increase its survival rates. Some may go as far as to being able to change the color of their entire skin whenever they want, leading them to be the first fully metachrosical animals of Rust Aria. Because of that, we're going to call them Mutadisucus, which means mutating fish. But what about the rest of the oceans? Well, due to the inconvenient physiology of the Galabuk, its population density would start to decline. Even though some offshoots, such as the Balabuk, would try to innovate its body plan and make it a successful creature, they would all ultimately fail, with all of them eventually going extinct during the Epictesian explosion, shortly after a deadly pathogen rendered the population of the entire genus down to less than 1,000. Other than that, life would slowly continue to decline as it did in the previous period, though nonetheless, some creatures would first appear just before the Epictesian explosion that would be fairly successful before and even after, such as the Horypods, which is a descendant of the ancestral Brachyharn. It uses the same strategy of burrowing under the sand and relying on its yellow exoskeleton to act as camouflage in order to trick its prey that it isn't there. However, there are a few differences. Not only is it bigger than the ancient Brachyharn, now growing as large as 33 to 37 centimeters, rather than the ancestral length of just 12 to 21 centimeters at most, Some subspecies of the Horypoda employ paralyzing venom in their tactic of hunting. Another animal of this period is the Archaeopitsku, meaning the original Pitsku. Unlike the Vath serpents, meaning deep serpent, which migrated to live in greater depths of the ocean, the Archaeopitsku stayed in its habitat. As a consequence, it was reduced in size due to how scarce swimming prey had become in these times, but also develop additional whiskers and hairs over its body in order to detect all possible prey that moves close to it. But just before the Epictesian explosion, an extinction event happened. In all honesty, it is the reason why life managed to survive and preserve on this planet. Had this not happened, life would likely continue to decline and become increasingly staler and staler, until it just simply failed. Apart from a few microorganisms and likely the Ocranum which appeared back in the Ooze-Taken period, life would likely die off, with the only option probably being of another life tree appearing from natural processes. Now, about this extinction event. During the Epictesian extinction event, a mutation likely occurred within a pathogen that had already spread among many organisms. It's unknown what caused this. It was likely solar radiation, but this doesn't matter. What matters is that once this disease's lethality rate went up through the cosmos, more than half of all animals on this planet died off. The reason why it didn't take the lives of even more is that the lethality rate was way more than the spread rate of this microorganism, which funnily enough not only caused the extinction of countless species, but also caused its own. Some organisms during the pre-extinction Epictesian period are ones, such as the Corallianus, Vimbarmus, Weisruna, Doliaskis, Odocathis, Vatapes, etc. Thanks for watching.
Εξομολογήστε το Κύριον, διαγαθός αλληλούι.